Now, before we move to view the ribbon cutting, it's important to recognize that this action symbolizes the completion of this 10-year-long project. The Highlanders of the 1st Battalion, 161st Infantry Regiment now have a facility that will enable them to expand their reach and hone their skills. On behalf of the Highlanders of the 1st Battalion, 161st Infantry Regiment, past, present, and future, thank you for your efforts in completing this vision. At this time, I would like to invite you all to the front of the building to view the cutting of the ribbon by Brigadier General Dent, Mr. Iwazik, and Lieutenant Colonel Cooper. Good morning, and thank you for attending today's event. I am Captain Brian Johnson, the Master of Ceremonies for today's event. On behalf of Lieutenant Colonel William Cooper, Commander of the 1st Battalion, 161st Infantry Regiment, I would like to welcome you to the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the new Richland Readiness Center. The official party for today's ceremony is Brigadier General Dan Dent, Commanding General, State of Washington, Mr. Adam Iwazik, Director, CFMO, and Lieutenant Colonel William Cooper, Commander, 1st Battalion, 161st Infantry Regiment. The 1st Battalion of the 161st Infantry Regiment has a rich and storied history. On the 1st of December, 1855, 23 citizens of Eastern Washington Territory organized themselves into a volunteer militia company at Plants Ferry near present-day Spokane. Their mission was to escort the territorial governor, Isaac Stevens, safely through the Dales through hostile Indian territory. They chose to call themselves the Spokane Invincibles. Thus began the long and distinguished history of volunteer citizen soldiers in Eastern Washington. The unit was federalized in 1898 and ordered to the Philippines during the Spanish-American War. The 2nd Regiment of Infantry defended the city of Manila from Filipino insurgents on the night of February 4th, 1899. Having successfully defended Manila, American forces deployed to suppress the guerrilla warfighters throughout Luzon and were cited for valorous actions at the Battle of Santa Ana. In late 1899, the 2nd Regiment returned to Washington State and resumed their duties in the state militia and was redesignated as the 161st Infantry Regiment. At this time, they were assigned to the 41st Division at the entry of World War I. The regiment was deployed to France, where it was broken down into smaller units and performed garrison duties. The regiment was called to duty during World War II and attached to the 25th Infantry Division on 23 July 1942. The regiment participated in the final defeat of the Japanese military on Guadalcanal that February. On 22 July 1943, the regiment landed on New Georgia Island in the Northern Solomons to reinforce the 37th Infantry Division and capture Munda Point and defeat the Japanese military in the Northern Solomons. On 11 January 1945, the 161st Infantry Regiment returned to Luzon, Philippines, where it was instrumental in the 25th Infantry Division's defeat of Japanese forces on Luzon. For its actions, the regiment was awarded its 3rd World War II campaign streamer. The regiment was designated to be one of the lead elements of the 25th Infantry Division's landings on the main island of Honshu, Japan. Fortunately, the war ended before the invasion was necessary. The regiment returned to Washington State and once again took up its duties with the Washington National Guard. In 2003, the 1st Battalion, 161st Infantry Regiment, the only surviving battalion of the regiment, was federalized in support of the War on Terror and Operation Iraqi Freedom II. There, they were assigned to 1st Cavalry Division, where they participated in stability and security operations, including aggressive combat patrols, direct action raids against an established insurgency in the Baghdad area of operations. The 1st Battalion, 161st Infantry deployed to Iraq again in 2008, where it was tasked with providing security for logistics convoys. During this deployment, the battalion's headquarters was stationed at Joint Base Balad. The battalion is currently dispersed throughout the eastern portion of Washington State. During peacetime, the battalion is under control of the governor in response to state emergencies, such as the Mount St. Helens eruption in 1980, the fires of 1994, the floods of 1996, the fires of 2000, providing airport security throughout Washington State from September of 2001 to November of 2003, the Oso mudslide, the fires of 2014 and 15. Our soldiers continue to stand ready to answer the call with members mobilizing throughout the state in June of 2020 in support of domestic disturbance to Washington, D.C., in March of 21 over the last 2 years at food banks throughout Washington State, and overseas to Ukraine and Poland as a part of a NATO battle group. Upon activation during times of national emergency, these units mobilize to augment the regular Army. As always, this unit stands ready to serve the state and nation, living up to its motto, first in war, first in peace. Today's ribbon cutting ceremony recognizes a $15 million effort that began over 10 years ago when the Washington Army National Guard competed for approval of projects with proposals from all 54 U.S. states and territories. The project was approved in 2012 for construction bids to begin in 2020. In 2017, the Washington Army National Guard secured the 40 acres here between First Street and Polar Way. In 2019, Washington state lawmakers approved funding for the $3.8 million it would cost the state government for the build. Construction began with Richland's own Fowler construction in 2021, with substantial completion just 14 months later. The now completed 39,706 square foot Readiness Center will be the home of Bold Company, 1st Battalion, 161st Infantry Regiment, a Stryker infantry company of 152 soldiers. This project is a tremendous team effort between the Washington Army National Guard, TVA Construction, and Fowler General Construction. At this time, I would like to welcome Brigadier General Dent, Commanding General, State of Washington, to provide some opening remarks.
Well, thank you and good morning. Thanks for rallying here on this great day. I want to thank Highlander 6 for hosting. Appreciate that, Bill. And offer a special welcome to our elected officials, Senator Dozier, Representative Bonneke, our local mayors, local community leaders and partners, the leaders of Fowler General Construction, and your entire team. I want to welcome our distinguished alumni. It means a lot to the Guardsmen in this facility to see you here, and we appreciate it. Of course, we welcome our soldiers, friends, and family. And on behalf of the Adjutant General and the entire Washington National Guard, I want to thank you for making this day a reality. And thank you for delivering a world-class facility for the world-class soldiers in the Washington National Guard. It's from this armory that we will continue the historic and honorable lineage of 1st Battalion, 161 Infantry. Formed over a century ago, served in every major combat operation in our Army's history, and every major domestic operation when this state is called upon them. It's facilities like this that prove to our soldiers that we can deliver them the best resources and best opportunities in support of our number one priority, to recruit and retain quality soldiers and guardsmen. This will matter to them in an amazing way, and this all came together because of your work. We're deeply grateful. We thank you, we're proud of you, and appreciate you for accomplishing this important mission. Soldier first.
Thank you, sir. Now I'd like to welcome Mr. Iwazik, Director of the Construction Facilities Management Office for the Washington Army National Guard, to say a few words.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, elected officials, distinguished members of the town and city, and the members of the community Tri-Cities, and most importantly as well, the 81st Brigade, one of the 161. This is your new home. Your new home in Tri-Cities. Very honored to be a part of this from cradle to grave. Very few, if any, directors in the National Guard get to see a project from cradle to grave. From land purchase to negotiating with the legislation, which I'm extremely supportive of, to providing the funding to buy the land, to purchase the land, to then going through the process of design, correction, pre-design, and then going through the competitive process of getting a design firm and then a construction firm, then to deliver the project, and then to cut the ribbon, cradle to grave, my team has been a part of this, and it's amazing. And there's so many folks I want to thank. I have a list of names here I want to cover, but it's just a Memorial Day for the National Guard and our soldiers, and to be a part of this is just a blessing. Bill, I'm so happy for you and your team, your unit, to get this product. I want to talk about you in a little bit, but just wanted to show you out up front. Thanks. Going back to the state legislation, so appreciative of the folks that were there in the House and the Senate, and Office of Financial Management, Jen Masterson, for the work, the hard work that we did to develop a budget to go after the 40-acre parcel of land that we reside on. And I also want to thank the Department of Enterprise Services for the negotiation of that, specifically Stephanie Fuller. She could not be here today, but she was instrumental in the purchase and the negotiation with the city for the purchase of this land. And I want to thank the Horns Rapid Business District and the city administration for working with us diligently over the period of time to get the purchase and sales agreement inked, so then we can get the process going to compete nationally and get this funded for construction, which obviously we accomplished, which was fantastic. Only 12 facilities in the nation were selected for a FY fiscal year 2020 project. This is one of the 12. This is one of only 5 in the nation that were awarded on time. I want to thank Tanya Baker of ALSCS Architects of Spokane. Her, as well as Major Cooper and Captain Nick Stewart, now Lieutenant Colonel Cooper and Major Stewart, and rightfully so promoted since then. Working with Tanya, myself, and Ron Cross on the pre-design, the infancy stage or infinite stage of trying to figure out what this floor plan is going to look like based on the square footage of authorization that we had. And Bill, I think you would admit that it looks pretty darn resemblant of what we talked about. I'd also like to thank a phenomenal construction firm, Fowler General Construction. Our president, John Payne, son, Brooks, Melinda, and then our project manager, Cody Kowalski. Your team was phenomenal. Absolutely crushed it. You guys were competitive, gave a phenomenal presentation. If you remember Boyd-Back Machine, when we had to go through the RFQ and the RFP proposal process and multiple meetings officiated by DES, Brooks, you gave a great presentation. Brad and I were on the panel. It was an easy decision. You made it easy. You made a tough decision easy. And your whole team delivered a phenomenal product. From cradle to grave of the award to construction completion of today's cutting the ribbon, flawless. These projects are very rare in the national level. You usually only get one project every 5 to 7 years. We've been very fortunate. We've got 7 now in the last 13 years. But I'm here to tell you, this is one of 3 projects 17 years I've been in the directorate program, the directorate of CFMO. I've never seen a project go as well as this. It's in the top 3, if not number 1. Phenomenal. And I hope we can continue this working relationship because, as I've talked to you before, more projects to come. Hopefully in Wenatchee and potentially here on this parcel of land with a potential Washington Youth Academy facility. We looked at 2012, we did a comprehensive study statewide, and we determined that Tri-Cities was the fastest growing population, serves probably the best location to draw more soldiers and troops for our formation, for your formation. And now here we are with Bravo 161 relocating from Moses Lake, which was built in 1993, the last facility, if you will, in the state of Washington built for a company-sized facility. It tells you how rare these facilities are at the company level formation. 30 years since we built a company-sized formation. Bravo 161, you're going to be the beneficiary of that, one of the 161 in 81st Brigade. I'd also be remiss if I didn't recognize Department of Enterprise Services, Jeff Gonzalez, and one of my project managers, Brad Olson. Jeff and Brad, you guys did a fantastic job managing this project from afar. I know Jeff was closer to the flagpole here. Brad, you made countless trips across the pass over here, but Fowler Construction, again, made it so simple for us, for DES and for CFMO. But that relationship was strong. You guys did a great job working collectively as a team to deliver this project and this product to the community. And now to the city of Richland and the Tri-Cities. This is the new home for Bravo 161. And whatever units we have in the future may come through here, but we hope to be your partnering neighbor for the next 50+ years. Thank you for all you've done to support us. We're here to support you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to invite the Deputy Director of Fowler Construction, Mr. Brooks Payne, to say a few words.
First off, I'd like to start. Thanks, Mr. Wazik. Very rarely in this business do you get a thank you or gratitude like that. Been doing it for 13 years, and I don't think I've ever heard that type of thanks given to us as a construction firm. Usually you hear what you messed up, not what you got right. So it's great to hear. Fowler being part of the local community, couldn't be more proud to be part of this project from design conception to the final product. Our office is located about a mile from this facility, so we drive by it every day, we see it. It's in our backyard. As soon as the RFP came out for us to propose on, this was a project we identified and we wanted to be part of. Every measurable and immeasurable goal that we set out in this facility, we met. The technical aspects that were required of this facility were achieved or overachieved. For instance, this facility was programmed to meet LEED Silver, which is the sustainability requirements put for the state for this type of facility. We went above and beyond that and achieved LEED Gold, which means this facility is environmentally performing at a high level, one of the highest performing buildings within the Tri-Cities that I know of. That was all possible with our great team and the partnership we formed with the Washington Military Department, Department of Enterprise Services, and TVA, our architecture partner. There was never any type of disputes. The project was collaborative from start to finish, and that reflected in the end product. The project had a fixed price construction budget with a technical baseline scope that needed to be achieved. Through all the COVID stuff, the supply chain disruptions, labor disputes, everything that we saw happen in our community, our state, our country in 2020, 2021, this project was delivered on time, on budget, to the technical requirements of the Washington Military Department. We couldn't be more proud to be of this project, and it will be long lasting in our community, and we're proud to have our name on it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Finally, I'd like to welcome Lieutenant Colonel William Cooper, commander of the 1st Battalion 161st Infantry Regiment, to say a few words on the impact this Readiness Center will have on the organization. Thanks. Yes, sir.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome, community, businesses, our partners. There's too many people for me to thank. That's why we had Brian do it up front. I don't want to mess it up. But I do want to say thank you to General Dent, Colonel Sellers, who's hiding out there in the crowd, and Colonel James. Two key figures in my life who have infused a soldier-first and a soldier-centric approach to everything. And that's what we see pay off today. And I know Colonel Wazik embodies that as too in all of his work. So that's how we have this result, this great result we're sitting in right now. So thank you to all of you. Thank you, Fowler Construction. That's surprising to hear that this is the warmest thank you you've had, but I'll add to it. I already had that programmed in my speech anyway, was to thank you because you represent something that we as the National Guard also represent to the community. Your service to the state and to the National Guard is exemplary. You took your efficiencies, and instead of just reaping the rewards for yourself, you returned it back. And thank you. It speaks to everything that is good about American business and what capitalism can do when you add values to it. And clearly, the character of your company shines through in this facility. So thank you again. My own part here is somewhat apropos, not only as a battalion commander, but I was also the company commander of this unit at one time. I also served as a lieutenant, as a platoon leader, a second lieutenant. I know some of the veterans here think that's probably funny. They can imagine I probably wasn't the guy I am today. And sergeants like themselves suffered through teaching me the ropes early on. So thank you to all the veterans that are out here that came to support this. But it's special because I got to see where we came from, and thank you, Colonel Wazik, for inviting me into the process. And the process, as he noted, another former company commander from this company, Nicholas Stewart, and a friend of mine over the years, your shop brought it to us and said, hey, what would the perfect armory look like for a company? And we were a little head shy, and we said, you know what? We got a lot to do, but this is worth it. This is worth it. Because if it comes to fruition, if it actually happens, it's priceless. This is worth far more than $15 million. Far more. So it started with us getting on a computer with a PowerPoint presentation, and our squares and everything obviously weren't to scale. Just a couple infantrymen doing math and putting together how the ideal building would look in this PowerPoint. And then the architect came and made sense of it all, and we're like, yeah, it could do all these things. Well, we see it today. I already walked through, and it's emotional just to see it. Because the design, going back to soldier-centric, it's designed for soldiers. And it's more than a building. But we'll get to that. More than a building. There's history. So it's a first. This is the first armory built in Richland, Washington. Now, those that don't know, we have an armory here in Pasco. It was the last armory built in this area, and that was in 1954, I believe. Is that correct, sir? 1954, over there in Pasco. We also have the Wall Armory not far away, which this unit will also have a relationship to. And this area has supplied soldiers to the National Guard for over 100 years. This area, these soldiers from Richland, who were citizens. They fought the Great War. They fought World War II. They were part of the greatest generation. We're the living legacy of that here today. But the first here is the first armory that we have with a historic unit in Richland, Washington. And the community that are here today supporting this are an integral part of that and always have been. You cannot separate the National Guard from the community. It doesn't work. They're one and the same. They always have been since the start of this country. So you're continuing that legacy way out west here in a beautiful place, Richland, Washington. And we're just so thankful and pleased to be here. So the area did have at one point, I'll go through the list, Battery D, 420th Air Defense Artillery was over there in Pasco. 41st Quartermaster Company was over there. The 1040th Transportation Company, not to be confused with 1041st. Delta Company, 1st Battalion, one of the 161 Infantry, so we've been in the area before, this battalion, one of our companies, right over in Pasco, and then Bravo Troop, 1st to 303rd Cavalry has also been stationed there. But nobody in Richland. This is the first. You've been supplying soldiers in National Guard, and now we actually have an armory for you right here. So thank you again, sir, for all the work that was done here. So Company B, just to highlight, I had Brian read the history. Anybody who wants a copy of that is more than welcome to get one from us. But Company B served not only in World War II, but also in Iraq. In fact, this battalion is the only infantry battalion in the Washington National Guard today that served 2 tours in Iraq. That's 1st Battalion, 161st Infantry, headquartered in Spokane, now with a company of soldiers here in Richland. And I just want to highlight the building itself. It's more than a building. It's more than a building to the soldiers. Because even as I look back all the way, and I had the privilege of serving in Iraq with this unit, and I think back to the relationships that are fostered in buildings like this, it is more than a building. It is a gathering place. It is the place that relationships are built, fostered, that take soldiers into domestic operations and then into war. It's the memories. I still have a memory of Jeremiah Schmunk. He was in this company. He was killed in Iraq. I remember sitting in the armory cleaning weapons with him, joking, getting to know him. That's a memory that will always be there from when we were enlisted together. And then we went on to war, and he didn't come home alive. But it was that armory where we all gathered. It's where those memories reside. It's where that history is kept. And we're going to build some history in this unit as well. We thank you. Now I want to highlight as I close, as we've talked about the firsts, the historic first that's happening here today in Richland, but I also want to highlight the soldiers that we'll have in this unit. And I also want to highlight our first sergeant, who is also local as well. That's a significant piece. We selected him knowing that. He's been in this company for a long time, had brothers and family in the area. He is the right guy to be the first sergeant, and Captain Gottwald. So Captain Gottwald, First Sergeant Hernandez, would you post? Along with Staff Sergeant Willis, Staff Sergeant Gonzalez, Staff Sergeant Barr. So we've talked about the past, the history. We've talked about the present. We've talked about this building. It's more than a building, but it's the people. So I wanted to introduce you briefly. Parade, rest. To those who will occupy. So the command team, we have Captain Gottwald here, the company commander. First Sergeant Hernandez, the first sergeant of the unit, the senior sergeant that is here. He's the one that ensures that everybody's doing the right thing on behalf of the company commander. He's the one that ensures that this place is clean, which is one of the reasons we chose him, because he would actually make sure that would happen. And obviously this is a facility we will want to showcase. And then our 3 staff sergeants. They will be here day to day. They will be working full time in this armory. If you ever have a question, a concern, or anything you need, they will be present. Please feel free to come by, whatever the case. And I just want to recognize, because I didn't come down and clean up and get everything straight myself. I just showed up with a piece of paper and ready to speak. But these are the soldiers that actually made this happen today. These are the ones that actually set the chairs up. These are the ones that are making sure that everything's picked up and there's not an energy drink can laying around that somebody forgot as we all come in here. And they're the ones that will continue to police it up, and they're the ones that are here day to day to serve as soldiers. Because again, this is a local unit, and local soldiers need to come in and be able to take care of administrative duties, ensure their pay is correct, their records are correct, and these are the soldiers who will plan the training that we execute. And these are the soldiers that will foster those relationships in the community. So thank you, each of you. And for those that don't know, that was a continued tradition. We have a challenge coin. It's a military tradition. But it's something we present oftentimes to acknowledge somebody's extra work and going out of the way to say, hey, we saw it, we know you did the right thing, and we appreciate it. So that's what you guys did setting this up today. Wouldn't have happened without you. So thank you for that. And then finally, as we've talked about first, I'll leave you with our proud motto. and then we're going to step outside and cut the ribbon. But the 1st Battalion, 161st Infantry, part of this 161st Infantry Regiment, historic unit, the motto, first in war, first in peace.